Hello and welcome to AFAL Podcasts, the home of objective, up-to-date and independent reporting on Turkey. Don't forget to follow our reports through social media, on afalnews.com or through our mobile app. Let's get started.
Hello, dear Ahval listeners. This is Gülten Sarı, Ahval editor. On Sunday, there was a meeting in Berlin on Libya, aiming at stopping the Libya turmoil, and there was some decision taken by the summit participants. Many countries like Turkey, Russia, United States, France, Italy attended this meeting. Also, international organizations such as the United Nations was part of the summit, and there were some key results in the declarations. One of them is the Berlin participants committed to refrain from interference in the armed conflict and in the international affairs of Libya. Another commitment by the participant was to commit to unequivocally and full respect and implement the arms embargo established by the UN in 2011, in fact, but it's a fact that it was violated by many countries. And Turkey recently decided to dispatch soldiers to Libya to give support to Sarraj administration in Tripoli, and the other rival is Haftar, and Russia is backing him. Not only Russia, but many foreign powers are behind Haftar, and Haftar is controlling 90% of Libya. Now, I have a guest, former Turkish ambassador to the US. Mr. Loğoğlu, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Mr. Loğoğlu, could you evaluate the declaration for our listeners? Is there any chance that this summit and its results may be successful? Could you please evaluate the declaration and its results for our listeners when we consider the conditions on the ground with Russia and Turkey's interference?
Of course, the Berlin conference declaration is an important document, despite the fact that it really ultimately lacks teeth. But in terms of the expression of a complete spectrum of international community, it is important. What the declaration emphasizes is that there can be no military solution to the conflict in Libya. There can only be a political solution to the conflict in Libya, and that this solution must be Libyan-owned, decided, determined, and prosecuted, implemented by the people of Libya with assistance from the international community. The second point is that the United Nations has been given a primary role in the follow-up of both the military aspect and the political aspect, as well as the economic aspect of the various items mentioned in the declaration. The declaration itself is a very comprehensive document composed of 55 different articles, and it tries to address the many aspects of the Libyan question, a country that has been suffering turmoil and conflict since 2011. I think that said, we have to understand that a listing of the good wishes and the best wishes of the international community is not sufficient to bring peace and stability to Libya. That depends primarily on the two fighting sides in Libya. On the one hand, the Sarraj, UN-recognized government of Sarraj, and on the other hand, Haftar's controlled side in control of almost 90% of the country, of Haftar. The two did not even enter the same room in Berlin. And even during the conference, Haftar stopped the flow of Libyan oil through its supporters in Libya. So in conclusion, we have to say that the Berlin Conference ended with what the international community wants to see and how that can be achieved, but there is really no concrete steps or results from Berlin, particularly in terms of a ceasefire agreement. There is a call for ceasefire, but there is no ceasefire in place. And this has been delegated to a 5+5 military committee that's to meet in Geneva. So much depends in terms of what will happen next in Libya, will depend much on what the two sides do on the ground in Libya, Sarraj and Haftar's forces do in Libya.
What could you say about the possibility of this declaration stopping Turkey interfering in the Libya fighting turmoil and Turkey's decision to dispatch fighters to Libya, as well as Russia's ongoing efforts to make Haftar win the war over Sarraj government?
I think this is important in terms of Turkey's Libya policy, because the various calls for non-interference by outside powers in Libyan affairs, stopping of arms deliveries to Libya against the UN Security Council resolutions, sending of proxy fighters to Libya under whatever guise, under whatever name. These are matters that directly concern Turkey, and Turkey must put its signature under the Berlin Declaration. And I think Ankara must now take stock of the outcome of the Berlin Conference and how that fits or doesn't fit into the current policies of Turkish government. So it is, I think, Ankara has a lot of hard work and difficult stock taking to do in the wake of the Berlin Conference.
Mr. Loğoğlu, as you know, Haftar and Russia have upper hand in Libya, and Haftar, with the back of Russia, controls 90% of Libya, and he's about to get what he wants on the ground. So could you think that Haftar and Russia will give up this advantage over the declaration signed in Berlin? Is it possible, or will they continue with their agenda and will win the war and will get a victory and will have a full control on Libya? What do you think?
That's a good question. That's a fair question. I think one sure thing about the Berlin Conference is that none of the participating countries really changed their national positions. This applies to Russia as well. And to answer your question more directly, it is very unlikely that Russia is going to give up its advantageous position vis-à-vis all the other parties in Libya, and this applies to Haftar as well. He too feels he's in a stronger position than the other side. So I think Russia will continue to, at the same time, talk about peace and stability for Libya, but at the same time continue its support for Haftar and for his efforts to claim all of Libya.
So it seems that to keep expectations from the summit law is better and more wise. What do you think?
I think we all wish for a lasting ceasefire to be followed by a political process in Libya. But I feel that expectations and the interest of the different parties, whether it's Russia, the European Union, Turkey, or even the United States are concerned, are different. And it is not, while they can join in terms of good wishes for Libya, in terms of concrete policies, I think the situation, the reality will not change much. And Libya may continue to suffer under these conditions.
Thank you for joining us and sharing your ideas with our listeners.
My pleasure, my privilege.